Hi everyone, welcome back. Well, it's a lovely sunny day today and I thought we might just come out and have a look at our crops quickly. This is our oat crop and it's a little bit behind where I would like it to be because we've had such cold weather. We haven't had a huge amount of rain either. We've had plenty of rain for the crop, but it's not as high as we would normally get. Now, this paddock has a lot of radish in it, and we're starting to see some radish coming up in the crop, which is not at all unexpected. Other than that, this is a pretty clean crop. We've got very little grass growing in between it. You can tell a clean crop when you can look down the rows and see clearly each row with almost nothing in between it. Now this one had metallic ore as a pre-emergent, and this was sprayed before seeding. So we went out in front of the seeder with glyphosate and metallic ore, and that was it. And it's come up really nice and clean. We will have to put a radish spray on this when the oats gets big enough to have the radish on it. But other than that, I'm pretty pleased with this. We're about to put some chicken manure out on this too, which should make it go a slightly darker green and grow a little bit faster. All right, we're going to go and have a look at another crop now, the other half of the oat crop, which was treated slightly differently. Now this is our other paddock of oats over here, and it had exactly the same spray on it, except it was done slightly differently. So this was glyphosated before seeding, and then the metallic ore was put on after seeding. And now metallic ore works really well if you put it on after seeding, if you get rain on it to wash it in within about 4 days of doing the spraying. Now I'd looked at the weather forecast and decided that the time was right to do the spraying. We got rain over home, which is about 6 kilometers over that way, and we only got 1 millimeter here, which didn't wash the pre-emergent spray into the ground like it needed to be. And that means we've got all of this ryegrass coming up in here because the spray was not as effective as it should have been. Now this area here has also had chicken manure on it at 5 cubic meters a hectare, but it was not burnt before I put the crop in. So there was a reasonable amount of wheat stubble in here, and to break down the stubble uses nitrogen. So we're seeing a couple of spots up through here where the crop's just looking a little bit yellow, not quite as green as it should. This is because the nitrogen is all being used up to break down the stubble instead of being used by the plants. So we're going to put some urea out on this in the next week or so, and that should get it growing again nicely. We're also probably going to have to put a spray out on this to control the ryegrass, as well as there will be radish coming up in here too, because we always get radish here. This is still in our oat crop here, but up on top of the hill, the soil is far more gravelly. Let me just get out. Yeah, far more gravelly, and this is very mineral deficient soil. I have to put trace elements on here every year, particularly manganese, in order to get a decent crop out of this soil. I was having a few problems with the spreader, the manure spreader though. And it's interesting, where I had block-ups and pulled a heap of manure out and just dropped it on the ground, how much better everything is growing. And there's a few of them along here, including all the weeds. The weeds are growing fantastically well in it. But we go from bare patches between the rows to the crop being almost twice the height and looking far better. Here's one where I pulled out a fair amount and chucked it on the ground. So it's been too thick in the middle there, it's too hot and it's burnt the seed off. But you can see all around it, everything looks fantastic. The ryegrass up here really is terrible in this little patch. So I'm going to have to get onto that pretty soon to do something about that. But it's interesting to see how much better the crop grows up here with that added nutrition of the chicken manure. This is our wheat crop here. It went out with glyphosate, low-gram and triflurin on it. And you can see here it's pretty clean. Got the odd little bit of ryegrass down in here, but really this is a pretty nice clean looking crop. There's a little bit of wild oats up there that we'll get when we do our next spray, but overall I'm pretty pleased with how clean this section of the paddock is. This line down through the crop here is where we blew a hose on the sprayer. So this got a huge dose of all the chemicals, and the bit on either side of it got a much lower dose because the sprayer wasn't spraying properly anymore. And you can see we've got a bit of weed in here, we've got a bit more ryegrass in here. So this paddock definitely has a ryegrass burden. And that just shows how well the chemical is all working in that section over there that I just showed you. So there's been some debate around here for a number of years about whether triflurin is still an effective chemical to use in wheat, or whether there's so much resistance now that it doesn't really work. I put out a small section down here just using glyphosate and low-gram. And you can see how much more grass there is between everything. There's a lot more ryegrass down here and a bit more wild oats. So I'm going to have to get on and spray all of this out pretty soon. This wheat's struggling a little bit too for some reason. I think we're down in the valley a little bit further here, so I suspect it's just a little bit cold for it. Anyway, I think this is pretty conclusive that this shows pretty conclusively that triflurin, when applied properly, actually still does make a bit of a difference around here, and that the idea that it doesn't work is more probably about the way it's now applied. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.